greater than John the Baptist. Jesus loves John, and John is dead. He has been decapitated. That's horrifying. And he is devastated. And so scholars think that this little moment where he chose to withdraw by boat privately to a solitary place was evidence of genuine mourning and grief for his family and his friend. Now, what's incredible here is Jesus allowed himself to feel the loss of John. Now, think about it. He was God. He could have passed over the deeply uncomfortable and horrible feeling of grief. We all know the feeling of grief. All of us have lost something or many things: jobs, relationships, loved ones. If we could skip over grief, we would. I would. Nobody wants to feel grief. But Jesus chose it. He allowed it. And he did it because he was expressing his love for John, who he loved and respected. He made a choice to grieve as an opportunity to show love. What opportunity for love is waiting for you as you embrace your limits? Especially in relationship to your time, which feels like it's so hard to give away. This is a huge struggle for me. This is one of maybe my top struggle, is to accept my limits when it comes to my time. Something that I've struggled with for a long time. Before I had kids, I just would work all the time. I was totally a workaholic. And I never slowed down. I didn't like to rest. And I just pushed myself constantly. It's easy to do when you love your job. And it's been a crazy exercise in letting go of that drive, letting go of that desire when I had children so that I could choose the better thing. When I found out that I was pregnant with the twins, I went to the church that I was working for at the time and I said, okay, I was already working part-time. And I said, okay, I'll be back in 6 months. I think 6 months should do it. I'll figure it out. And I remember 2 months into life with infant twins and a 2-year-old, I sat down in the office of the pastor at the time and I said, I don't know if I will ever be back. I don't know if I'm ever coming back. Working in ministry is one of the greatest joys of my life. And I was really lucky that I found that when I was 22 years old, to find a job that I loved so much. So choosing to step away from that job at age 35 was heartbreaking. It was so difficult for me. I went through an absolute crisis of identity when I chose to stop working and focus on being a full-time mom. Every day I struggled to feel like I was doing something worthwhile, which is ridiculous. I was raising my kids. I was being a mom, but somehow it didn't feel like enough. I felt like I couldn't be productive. I wasn't getting all the feedback you get in a job from my infant twins and my toddler. They're like, what have you done for me lately? So there were some dark months of regret. Sorry, you guys. I really struggled with who I was before and who I was now. Choosing to limit the time that I gave to my vocation so that I could give it to my children was one of the hardest decisions of my life. And I struggled and I was in the dark. I was in a storm over that decision. But I will tell you, now looking back on that decision, God slowly moved me out of like the darkness and started to show me the value of my choice to accept my limits, to know that I could not do it all. And now that our oldest is going into 6th grade, I look back on that choice and I don't regret it for a second. I got to be full-time mom for all of my kids' wonderful, beautiful little kid years, and all the really hard things too. I'm so grateful. There's literally no amount of money that you could ever pay me to miss that. And really even the suffering that I went through, the struggle, the hard moments, the what did I do with my life? None of that. I would do it again in a second. It was absolutely worth it. Now, this is not a sermon about how you should be a stay-at-home parent. That's not the point. In that season of my life, God was inviting me to accept the limits that were before me. And every single one of you have an invitation from God. Every single one of you have an invitation. There is somewhere in your life that God is inviting you to accept your limits. I still really struggle with this. I chose that for 6 years, and now I'm back in part-time ministry, and it's still really hard. I'm still constantly trying to figure out, how do I accept my limits? How do I give my time to my family? How do I stay present? I picked up this book recently called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. Do you guys know how long the average human life is? 4,000 weeks. Has anybody read this book? Oh my God, pick it up right now. Buy it on Kindle immediately. This book, my kids are so annoyed of me talking about this book. I at dinner, underlining things like, Mom, are you reading Time Management for Mortals again? Yes, I am. It's fantastic. The author does an incredible job of talking about our modern world and our absolute denial of limits. I don't think he's a Christian, but he vibes. He vibes with everything I'm talking about tonight. So please read it. And reading it has just reinvigorated me with my commitment to trying to accept my limits as a human. I want to read for you a really incredible passage. He writes this, but the choice you can make is to stop believing you'll ever solve the challenge of busyness by cramming more in, because that just makes matters worse. And once you stop investing in the idea that you might one day achieve peace of mind that way, it becomes easier to find peace of mind in the present, in the midst of overwhelming demands. Because you're no longer making your peace of mind dependent on dealing with all the demands. Once you stop believing that it might somehow be possible to avoid hard choices about time, it gets easier to make better ones. You begin to grasp that when there's too much to do, and there always will be, the only route to psychological freedom is to let go of the limit-denying fantasy of getting it all done and instead to focus on doing a few things that count. Can I say that again? The only route to psychological freedom is to let go of the limit-denying fantasy of getting it all done and instead to focus on doing a few things that count. What are the few things that count for you? What are the few things that count for you right now? And as you think about how you want to spend your very short, sort of horrifyingly short 4,000 weeks, what matters in the end? What opportunity for love is waiting for you as you embrace your limits? And I want to specifically focus in, as we finish up right now, on time. What limits do you need to accept in terms of your time? Because when we embrace our limits, when we say we can't do it all, we decide what we can do. And often, offering our presence to the people that we love and to God is one of the greatest gifts that we can give, one of the best ways that we can spend our time. Because it's incredibly hard to love well when we're in a hurry. It's incredibly hard to love well when our schedule is so packed we can't slow down enough to look someone in the eye and be present with them. This is the sickness of our modern times. So we get to choose. We get to choose how we spend our time and what we can and can't do. So as you finish your first first day at camp and look towards the next few days, you might want to do some reframing. You might want to make some decisions about how you want to spend time this week, but also how you want to spend time in your life. Because these are a short few days, and then you go back to your life. But you can make some decisions here when you're away from all of that about what is important to you and what really matters. I want to invite you to do something that might feel uncomfortable. We're going to finish our time engaging in a prayer posture. And this is something that in our bodies, we can hear all this information, but sometimes we need to do something with our body to recognize what we've heard or to be open to receiving what God would have for us. So I want you to close your eyes. And if you feel comfortable, you can. You do not have to. Either way. But if you want to get onto your knees, you can do that, or you can open up your hands. So everybody has to close their eyes so nobody feels awkward, okay? What I'm going to do is I am going to read to you sort of a meditative prayer from Henry Nouwen, who is one of my most favorite writers. And then after I read this, I'm going to invite you to meditate and consider what God might be inviting you to limit in your life. What is most important? So here is our reading. You have so many options and are constantly overwhelmed. What of all this truly deserves your time? Start by not allowing these people and issues to possess you. Much of their urgency comes from your own need to be accepted and affirmed. You have to keep going back to the source, God's love for you. You have not fully surrendered yourself to God's guidance. You keep fighting with God over who is in control. Try to give your agenda to God. Keep saying, your will be done, not mine. Give every part of your heart and your time to God and let God tell you what to do, where to go, when, and how to respond. God does not want you to destroy yourself. Exhaustion, burnout, and depression are not signs that you are doing God's will. God is gentle and loving. Once you have allowed yourself to experience that love fully, you will be able to better discern who you are being sent to in God's name. God, we confess to you right now, we don't know how to accept our limits. We are seeking approval. We are running so fast after this goal that we'll never attain. We believe the culture's lies that we need to be limitless. And God, we choose right now to accept our limits for the sake of love. We choose to believe that you have designed us this way for dependence on you, and that in our dependence on you, you will guide us to the best things, the most important things, the things that are worthwhile in this short life. So I pray for us who are constantly caught up in the storm of time and busyness, that you would meet us in the midst of the storm and lead us out and give us your guidance about what it is you want us to focus on. We're going to spend about 30 seconds before we start singing again, just to talk to God about what it is that you need to accept, how you need to accept limits, and what you need to choose as most important. And then we will spend time in worship for one last worship song. So let's just spend 30 seconds.